It's time for our today's Parent to Parent segment, and it Centers for Disease Control in 2012 showed that almost 1 in 5 teen boys has ADHD, and 11% of all school-aged children have ADHD. That's a large number. Americans with Disabilities Act requires colleges to provide reasonable accommodations to students with ADHD if their symptoms are significant enough to impair their functioning. We have Pam Mashburn here with Potential Magazine to tell us more about tips that can help and tell us about these accommodations and what is out there for students. This affects a lot of students now.
It does. And you know, at Potential, one of our missions is to help every student gain their potential and be great adults. And one of the things that we found out is with so many people, not even adults that have ADHD don't even know they have it, we want to level that playing field. And so, and colleges do too. They want kids to be successful. They want them to get their degree. So
are there some colleges that stand out in certain regions that help out more, or can you pretty much find colleges all across the country?
I think that when I've talked to some of the admissions counselors, what I'm finding is they have departments, and it might be one person, it might be 3 staff people, depending on how large the college is. But there's some things that you need to know if you have a child that's like that, is you can't just give them a doctor's note. So you just can't say, oh, I have ADHD. But what you have to do is have a full psychological evaluation within the last 2 to 3 years. And the main thing is call the colleges and say, what do you need?
Okay, let's start at the top here. Accommodations depend on the student, but here are a few of the accommodations that they have at certain universities. Let's go with that. We have some of these up here that we can show you. What about tests? The tests are difficult even if you don't have ADHD for some people, but they offer more time for them to...
Exactly. Extended time for taking it. They can help aid with note taking, whether it's giving you the notes beforehand or allowing you to type. But you know, whether you have the accommodation or not, encourage your child to go to the front of the room. If there's 200 students in the room and they have ADHD, chances are they're looking all over the place instead of focusing.
Exactly. So if you're right there and the instructor is right there in front of you, then your attention will likely stay on them more than if you're sitting behind 200 other people who are moving, shuffling papers, doing whatever on their cell phones or whatever. So encourage them to do that, and they can also audio record the lectures.
They can audio record, and you know, some professors are going to be funny about that. That's why you want to make sure you go ahead of time. And there may even be, depending on what your disability is, you may have to have a test administered to you in a different way. So those are reasons that you want to do that. Now, we worked with Dr. Polly Dunn at Auburn University, and she gave us all of these hints about this. And one of the things she said is check, starting their junior year, which colleges are they interested in, and talk to them, because if a college wasn't as receptive, maybe that's not a good fit for them. The other thing I thought was interesting is you can also get accommodations for those entrance exams like SAT, ACT, if they need more time or something, because really, it's all about leveling that playing field so that a kid can be successful.
Yeah, this is on that list of things you said that you can be granted those accommodations, but there are certain things that will be required. You need to find out what the college requires. Also on the list that you sent us, provide documentation that the disorder impairs their ability. Like you said, you can't just write them a note. You have to provide documentation that exists. Also on this list, you said they might need a full psychological evaluation that is conducted between the last 2 to 3 years. The student pays for that and not the college.
Yeah, that's a good point. The college isn't going to pay for those exams, but you know what? A lot of insurance companies will cover that.
Okay, well that is good to know.
Yeah, so that's a good thing to know. And you may need to find out, like, specifically what kind of exam, who does it have to be from? So before you go waste money on this, make sure it's what they really need.
Okay, so, and also you say there are success skills. You already talked about sitting in the front of the room, but also what are some of the other things that they can do as well?
Yeah, so they need to, you know, we need to be encouraging our kids to learn how to study and to learn good study skills. Especially if you have a child that's pretty bright. Well, when they get into a whole different college situation, it may be very difficult. And you know, they talk about free time, but it's really not free time in college because you're supposed to be studying a lot. It's unstructured time. So helping them do time management. Studying in a quiet room, free of distractions, just like when they would be in a test. Sitting in the front. Oh, and this is probably the most important thing I learned was a lot of the schools, and I know Troy University, AUM, others have things called student success centers. And so when you go into the student success center, they have tutors, and they're providing this free of charge for kids that are struggling. What tends to happen is a kid struggles, doesn't tell anyone, doesn't go to get help or doesn't know to go get help, and then all of a sudden they're about to flunk out.
Right.
And then everybody's in crisis management. So we want to avoid that. Make sure you check and make sure that the paperwork went through before they go off on their freshman year. In the summer, make sure, did you get the paperwork? Is that what you needed? And just verify, because they're getting a lot of that paperwork.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
a lot of these great tips are right here in Potential Magazine. You can find these wherever teens and their parents hang out. So be looking for that brand new issue just out. Thank you so much, Pam.
Thanks,
Great
Tara.
information there. Again, we want all of our students to succeed. ADHD, whatever problem they might be dealing with, we want them to be successful.
That's
so
right.
thank you for those tips, and we'll see you next time.
Okay.